Dear Family is a podcast hosted by Rachel Steinman, a writer, an educator, and a mental health advocate. And Rachel gets us up close and personal, so we feel a strong connection, familiarity, and comfort with her guests. So settle in and join us as we search for true healing and journey with Rachel and her most interesting guests.
Hi, dear family and friends. This is Rachel Steinman. And this is my second time doing a YouTube video that I also am going to try converting into a short podcast. I had a realization yesterday that in less than 3 months, we are going to be moving into a new decade, the roaring 20s. So I'm kind of excited about it. And I think we all need to kind of acknowledge how far we've come this year and make some great resolutions. And one of my resolutions was to connect with you all. And I decided to create a private Facebook group, and I'm calling it Dear Family Members. I would absolutely love you to be a Dear Family Member. So you can just search it on Facebook, the group, or you can go to my Facebook page and there's a button and join. And that's where we will lift each other up and share things that we didn't get to really delve into deeply on the podcast, or where you can ask questions of me. And I have been saying this a lot lately, but I literally could walk up to anybody on the street or knock on any door in any neighborhood, and guaranteed everyone living there or who I speak to has some form of a family health issue, and that could be a mental health issue or a family secret that they feel shame or and from the stigma. And I realize, and that's why I'm doing this, by us sharing our stories, we can really connect and find love and compassion. So I actually really, really hope that you're going to join this Facebook group, Dear Family Members, and you'll get to see secret photos and videos and be a part of this community. And I hope that, you can add your voice to it. So thanks again, and it'll be a great place for you to give me feedback about things that I really need to work on, or maybe some things you like, or some guest ideas, or anything like that. So, and also I am going to post some private photos of things that I discuss in this short little video / podcast. So in the last 2 weeks, I've done a few things that have really kind of made my heart sing. And by that, I mean, I got to have dinner with 2 of my best friends who don't normally see each other or know each other. And it was like heaven to me to be next to 2 best friends, drinking margaritas, eating chips and guacamole, and laughing. I mean, what is better for your happiness than being surrounded by people that you absolutely adore? I also went for dim sum downtown Los Angeles with my family, and that was really fun to get the teenagers out with us. And I also hosted 2 Shabbat dinners over the last 2 weeks. One was an impromptu one with just my daughters and their friends, and that was really great because typically the girls go into their room. I never see them, and this was really fun because we sat around and laughed, and I got to interact with these kids, and that was really great for me. And the second one was just with family friends, and there's really nothing better than breaking bread with people you love. Some of the things that I need to work on this week was I did not really exercise much, and nor did I meditate. And those are things that I really try to do on a regular basis, and I'm not always great with it. Yesterday, I also, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. I set I don't even want to say it, but Alexa, because she's here and she'll start talking to me, timer, and turned on my pool, the hose to fill up the pool. Well, the timer never went off, and thank God Molly noticed water was running because it had been running for hours and hours. And I am not looking forward to getting that DWP bill, nor having Todd ask me, why is the pool so high? So, those are just a few of the ups and downs this week. But on a personal level, I also posted my 10th episode, which I felt really proud about because supposedly 80% of podcasts never get that far. And when I first started this, I didn't know what it would look like and what this journey would be. But my 10th episode, if you haven't already listened, was with a dear friend, Rena Sofer. And what was so special is that she really opened up to me and talked about things that she normally never discusses. She's been in the public eye for 35 years, and she has not shared some of the stories she told me with anyone before. And when we finished, I thanked her so much for being so candid and open. And she gave me truly one of the best compliments I've ever received by saying that I reminded her of Terry Gross, who is, in my opinion, one of the best interviewers. And I think the reason why Terry Gross is so amazing is because she makes people feel so comfortable, and yet she asks the really important, deep questions. And so that is my goal. And I also, last time I spoke on YouTube, I discussed my vulnerability about going into a high school with high school kids. Well, this last week, I actually went into a middle school in Burbank, and I spoke to not just the middle schoolers, but also their parents. And I was so nervous. I mean, you can ask Todd. I didn't sleep because I thought, what are these parents going to think? Who am I coming in? And the time was even limited, so I didn't have much time to kind of get participation. And at the end, they fill out these kind of questionnaires, because the questionnaires are handed back to NAMI, which stands for National Alliance on Mental Illness. And although I'm a volunteer, it's how NAMI gets funding. So I thought, oh my God, what are these parents going to say about me? But when something just feels right, it really felt right. And I think the reason why was because I realized I had a lot to offer, and these parents were looking at me for guidance, and I was able to give them answers because, one, I'm a teacher. I've taught grades kindergarten through sixth grade. Two, I have high school kids and a middle school kid that are doing, in my opinion, doing really well in the world. And, I'm going to take some credit. I'm going to give myself some credit for that. And also, I am the granddaughter and daughter and sister of a lot of mental health issues. And I have, through this process, really been reading a lot and immersing myself in mental health education. So it felt really great to kind of put my, I guess, skills to the test. And that was awesome. And I also attended a boot camp for podcasters. This actually was a little bit before 2 weeks. It was maybe 3 weeks ago, but I didn't mention it, so I'm going to talk about it now. And it was called Work It, WERK It. And it was for diverse female voices. And it was supported by the Annenberg Foundation, so it was free of charge, and it was a mixed age and mixed race group of fierce women, and it was held at this really cool space in Hollywood called Second Home. You've got to kind of visit it if you get a chance. It's like these funky outdoor pods that are surrounded by plants, so you feel like you're in a forest with natural light. It was really neat. But I was really moved by some of the women. There was this one woman who talked about, she said, I have a question, and this is real talk. And she said, what do I do when I try to record and I am recording from the hood where there are helicopters flying around and sirens going all the time and dogs barking? And I realized, I really, as much as I, may complain about my dog barking or whatever, like, I have it a lot easier than some of these people. And yet their voice is just as equal as mine. And that's why I love podcasting. Once this woman gets her voice out there, it can be heard. And that's what's such a cool thing about podcasting. I also, of course, love that it's a slow movement and it forces you to connect and not rush. We also talked about mixing boards and advertising and production and all of those things. And I have to say, I felt really good because I've learned so much on my own. And one of the things that I realized is that I've learned so much on my own because there's a wealth of information out there that you gotta love the internet and YouTube. But also I've reached out to other really strong, like-minded people, and they've helped me. And that's just a reminder. Take that, jump and be brave. And if you need help, reach out to someone. They are more likely going to want to help you than you think. So that was really cool and really great. I also attended, UCLA has this seminar that is called Friends of Semmel, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's an open mind series. And they had this screening for this movie called Bedlam that I think is also based on a book that's coming out now. And it was the first documentary to explore the crisis in the care of people with severe mental illness in this country. And it premiered at Sundance to a standing ovation. And we only got to watch like the first 45 minutes. I think it's coming out in April. And when it does, I highly, highly recommend it. But the documentarian is a psychiatrist and a filmmaker. His name is Dr. Paul Rosenberg. And he went into psych wards and prisons and actually physically walked into the tent cities of the homeless on the streets of Los Angeles, because California is the epicenter of the crisis. I think we have the biggest population, where I think there might be like 400,000 homeless and maybe 200,000 live in California. And I'm not 100% sure if that is the exact statistic, but I believe it is. And he talked about the history and the politics of tearing down mental hospitals, which used to be so kind of prolific in the 50s, and what ended up replacing them were prisons. And it was very heartbreaking. And I also had to personally think back to my grandma Doris, who was in and out of mental institutions back then. They called them insane asylums. But they, were at least not on the streets, right? These people. And what was so cool was after the screening, Dr. Rosenberg was joined by a panel of what UCLA called psychiatry royalty. So that was really cool. But what made this documentary so powerful was that Dr. Rosenberg related it to his own personal story. And that was that he dealt with the shame and stigma of having a sister who was schizophrenic. And again, that goes back to what I've been talking about, how every family has some form of shame or family secret that they are dealing with. But I walked away feeling like my goal of discussing mental health in families was so important, because as a society, we have to shine a light on our biases against mental illness. And I realized by educating our young about mental health, we can prevent all of that self-medication and substance abuse and keep our youth off the streets, because it really does matter. 50 to 75% of youth in the juvenile justice system, they experience a mental health condition. So just think if we caught them early enough, or if there was that support system. So I walked away feeling hopeful, because I do believe we're beginning to shift the paradigm, and our youth are beginning to see their mental health as a priority. And I think teachers are understanding the importance of bringing mindfulness into schools. And when I went to that school in Burbank, I really felt that. So that was really great. And I just want to leave you by saying that the good news is that we can break this generational trauma and the generational curses. And I read this recently and I just love it. So when someone says, oh, but it runs in the family, you say, this is where it runs out. And I just want to say, I wish you all the love and happiness you so deserve and good mental health. And thank you for sharing this, following me, subscribing to my podcast, and joining Dear Family Members, the Facebook group. Lots of love.
This is Rachel Steinman. For more information or to contact me with any questions, comments, or guest ideas, please check out rightnowrachel.com. That's right with a W. Thank you so much for listening, subscribing, and sharing, dear family. And if you found value in what you've just heard, I would love and so appreciate a great review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Until next time, I wish you love, happiness, and good mental health.